So, hello and welcome back to episode 5 of the Road to Cheltenham Challenge. I'm Barry Doyle. I'm back with Andrew Blair-White for a 5th week. And Andrew, we've had some fantastic reaction to this show on a Monday night. It has to be said. Plenty of people getting involved underneath.
Yeah, exactly. We really are encouraging it. It's been going really well. Great views, great comments down below. A few of our guys down below seem to have very good Ante-Post books at the moment, I must say. Some that I'd love to have myself, but keep it up and hopefully we can keep this going all the way up until Cheltenham.
And it's getting a little bit tougher now to find selections as we come on, and we'll give our selections at the end of the show. But first of all, I suppose this weekend surrounded around the great Mick Winters. We had him on the podcast, I suppose, leading up to the weekend, but I don't think he even expected himself to see a Chatham Street lad win that impressive, I suppose, performance of the weekend for myself. It'd have to be him, wouldn't it? He was absolutely sensational. I heard a couple of people saying that in the aftermath, like, would it turn into a bit of a fluke performance? They were well strung out. The ground was, I suppose, it got on the test inside. But I'll ask you a straight question. If Envoy Allen was running off 141, would you have been as confident he would have hacked up as far as that?
Well, you'd have liked to have thought so, but look, it was brilliant for Mick Winters. Geez, the horse looked as if he just turned into the race coming into the straight. I didn't fancy him personally. I know you were all over him, so very good shape from yourself. But he's turned the corner this year. He won very nicely down in Cork last time. And geez, it was absolutely brilliant over there in Cheltenham. So, I don't know where to
start. In fairness, I mean, he has the option now, of course, of going into novice company again now. And I think in the aftermath, the first thing Mick Winter said was, "What's the plan?" And I think he was saying back over hurdles with him. Could you see him maybe running over hurdles, maybe exploiting his mark? And the interesting thing, he's got up to 151 now, I believe, today. I think the highest rated in the Brown Advisory last year was 157 on Snow Falcon. I don't see him in the market, but that to me was the obvious. What is the need to go in and take on the likes of Envoy Allen and Siskin and these type of horses? Would it not be better off now maybe campaigning them towards maybe a handicap in the spring?
Yeah, I'd say that's the most likely option, and I assume that's why they'd probably go over hurdles for a few spins to not move that handicap mark any further than that. You have to remember this horse was beaten the guts of 15, 20 lengths at Galway in a rated novice behind Packen's Rock. Like, he's not going to be winning a Grade 1 at Cheltenham, but he's obviously a horse that's found himself pretty well handicapped and potentially might be able to compete in a Brown Advisory or something like that. It's a shame, but obviously now he's actually past the ceiling of what the novice handicap used to be. But I'd say they probably will have a pop at the Brown Advisory, but they might pick up a pot or two in Ireland over hurdles before then.
Must be all the cooking apples and the carrots that Mick Winter is feeding them below. 10-1 any race now for Chatham Street lad. But another one we must mention, Andrew, was me nap last week. What a weekend it was for me. Sky Pirate. 16-1 for the Grand Annual. Typical John O'Neill plot job. Was running, I think he went off. Was it the Kim Muir? He ran in a handicap over 3 miles and 2 furlongs, right back down to 2 miles on softer ground. And John just says he's been running them over the wrong trip. Grand Annual, perhaps?
I assume they'll probably go down that route. I'm not sure.
16-1 now, Andrew, for the Grand Annual.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether that horse just had one day in him, though. Like, he's come second so many times, has shown such a questionable attitude, and he was backed off the boards on the weekend there and scooted in. So I'm not sure with him whether it was maybe just one for the day. And obviously he got his day in the sun, and very good to all those that got involved, like yourself on Saturday.
Andrew, what was your performance of the weekend?
Yeah, I thought the two juvenile horses over in England were plenty good. The one at Cheltenham, Adagio, looked pretty good. I'm not sure whether he'll be up to winning a Triumph Hurdle, but he certainly jumped very well. He took care of his rivals pretty easily. And then that Mon Morale of Paul Nicholls up in Doncaster, he made an earth-shuddering mistake 2 out and lashed back on the bridle like a really good horse. With Paul Nicholls, probably he's a long-term prospect and stuff like that, but I thought those two were very good. This juvenile division at the moment's looking pretty strong, I must say, when you add in the likes of Zanahir and Nasalam to that as well.
Looked pretty testing, actually, in fairness, for a juvenile. He looks like a horse, as you said, that Paul Nicholls would have chasing. He was in the Clan de Zobo colours. Am I right in saying Montmoral? I was actually want to mention Mick D, who's got involved below, put him up at 25-1, Andrew, actually, in the Road to Cheltenham Challenge, all the way in now to 10s, Monmoral. So you'd have to think he probably one of the leading British hopes, although we love Xanafer.
Yeah, well, Xanafer was class at Ferry House. That race has thrown up a few good juveniles in the past.
And Andrew, in fairness, it was funny actually, because we were discussing it on the Monday night after Xanafer's win, and he was 8-1, and me and you were debating, God, would you be getting stuck in at 8-1 now? And I believe a couple of other shows have flagged him up, and he's since got into 4-1. So when we do see him again, I believe they think he's a right horse, that's Xanafer. So
the only thing I'd say is he is 4-1 for a Triumph Hurdle in the middle of December, which is a brutal price, considering I'm sure they think an awful lot of him. But I'd say Paul Nicholls thinks a lot of Montmoral, Gary Moore thinks a lot of Nastalam. I'm sure they think themselves a lot of Quixilios as well. So 4-1 is far too short at this stage, I'd have thought.
Now, Andrew, every time we do this show on the Monday night, we end up talking about the champion bumper. Sir Gerhard 4-1. I'm just delighted I didn't make a selection yet, because every week another horse seems to come out, and it's Willie Mullins, and he threw 2 into the mix this weekend. One today actually at Naas, I felt was an excellent performance. But Brandy Love, she's as short now as 12-1 for the champion bumper. She never come off the bridle, and Take T never come off the bridle at Naas today. Now I know Jane Mangan was quite keen on this Brandy Love, but to me, out of the two, the bumper was probably stronger, and I think she was probably the most impressive bumper horse we saw this weekend.
Yep, look, 2 very good mares. I'm sure one of them maybe will go down a champion bumper route. Look, both of them were very impressive. You wouldn't know what they've beaten at this stage. The only thing I would say, I know Sir Gerhard's very, very short, but I keep seeing every single week a horse from that Down Royal run come out and win.
The Banger Doyle, named after my good self.
The Banger Doyle won. There was a Stuart Crawford horse that was beating the guts of 30 lengths, won over in the north of England there the other day as well. Jeez, that Sir Gerhard's a proper toot of a horse. That race, everyone's won out after it.
Now, yeah, listen. Well, I think in fairness, we'll wait till after Leopardstown. Would you go in now? Would your eyes be on Leopardstown more so after the Dublin Racing Festival?
Yeah, exactly. You don't know. Like Sir Gerhard's, he's 5 turning 6 as well, so you don't know whether he's actually even going to run in the champion bumper. I assume that's where he'll go, but you wouldn't be overly convinced. And I think at the moment his main danger is Kilcroot, and he's more than likely going to go to Leopardstown maybe on the 29th in the winners bumper this month, and then on to the Grade 2 in February. So if he scoops those 2, he becomes a serious contender very quickly.
Yeah, Andrew, just one last horse I wanted to mention just from the weekend. A David Pipe trained horse, Make Me a Believer. It was over the minimum trip at Cheltenham. It was over 2 miles and 1 furlong. He beat Any News by a length on good to soft ground. But I suppose he looked well beaten from a long way out, or he looked like he was getting beaten from a long way out. And he just stayed plugging on. I really liked his attitude, to be fair. And my eyes are on him for maybe something like a handicap at the Cheltenham Festival. I'm not sure whether he's good enough to run in any of the big novice races. As I said, won a nice bumper at Chepstow. And, I think he had a bit of a setback, but he was one that I was keen to keep an eye on this season. But if he lined up at something like maybe a Martin Pipe or something like that, he won over the minimum trip. As I said, he's only going to be better as he goes further out. And he is by presenting. So he's obviously going to make a nice chaser in time. But definitely one, I think, to keep the right side of that. Make Me a Believer for the Pipes. Andrew, I said at the start of the video, this is becoming very tricky now to get value. And that's the key word as well, is to get value. There's no point in us sitting here putting up Xanafer, as we said, at 4-1. We want to give people, I suppose, a bit of value, the viewers. Last week I put up Champ for the Savills chase. It looks like he's going there. The first 2 selections for myself, Eldorado Allen. The less said about that, probably the better. I wouldn't give up on him though. McFabulous, it doesn't look great for the Stayers hurdle. Non-stayer, I can't see them going down that route now at this stage. Appreciator, probably my best selection so far, 12-1 into 6s. Do you want to tell the viewers your selections to date?
Yeah, again, a little bit of a mixed bag like yourself. I have Nasalam at 25-1 for the Triumph Hurdle. It looks a competitive division, but he's now, I think, 16-1 generally. Wide receiver at 25-1 any race, which I'm actually quietly very hopeful on. I see he's come into 12-14-1 any race for an awful lot of markets. I think he could shorten an awful lot more. Chacun Pour Soi 5-1, which was one of my safer bets, and that looks pretty solid as well. Hopefully, if he gets there, he certainly won't be. It'll be a very short price if he does make Cheltenham. So there's a few decent ones in there. There's a few like Latest Exhibition in there as well that haven't run since I've put them up. So hopefully we can keep going on with a decent enough booker.
And Andrew, what is your selection for week 5?
Yeah, well, I'm actually going to throw in one of my first 3 wildcards this week as well. So I'm going to give you one at a bigger price and one that's at a shorter price. Look, he's a horse I've actually backed already at bigger prices, but he has contracted, but I think he'll run on the weekend. And my first wild card is going to be Time Hill at 5-1 for the Stayers Hurdle. I think he'll win on the weekend. I think he'll beat Paisley Park again. And if he beats Paisley Park again, what price is he? He's probably 5-2, 3-1. So that's the price I'm gonna take 5-1. I know one guy in the comments has it at 12-1, who's probably looking at me laughing. But it's on the weekend ahead. I do think he can win the Long Walk Hurdle at Ascot, and if he beats Paisley Park yet again, he holds extremely strong claims in that division. And one at a bigger price, 14-1, I think I'm going to take, because that's the one with 2 bookmakers, is a horse that actually ran today at Naas, a mare called Delvino, for the Mares Novices Hurdle for Dermot McLaughlin. I know probably risky taking on Willie Mullins in the Mares Novices Hurdle. I get that completely, but she won with bags in hand, and she's a seriously good mare. Finished actually ahead of Ballyadam in a bumper at Navan before winning at Down Royal at the back end of last year. Beat mares like Castra Vetera, Royal Illusion, Rosie's Hollow, Sean Ossick. Like, there's a real good depth to that mare's maiden hurdle today, and I think she could hold pretty good claims. If she was trained by Willie Mullins, she'd currently be 7-1 for the Mares Novices Hurdle, I'd say. So I'm taking 14-1 for Delvino.
Andrew Blair-White piling on the pressure down the back, playing his first wild card ahead of a long walk hurdle this weekend. Funny enough, actually, just about that, do you think Paisley Park will run against him? Because I think he was taken out of it last year, and there is a lot of rain scheduled for later in the week, so that's just a thought.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know what they'll do. I'm sure they'll be mindful of Paisley Park this year, and I'd say they don't want him being beaten twice by Time Hill. If they feel he's going to be, wouldn't surprise me if they swayed it. But I think Time Hill is down to run. He should run. He likes soft ground himself. Very versatile. I think he wins on the weekend and wins the Stayers Hurdle in March.
Bold shout, Andrew Blair-White. You mentioned putting up a horse, I suppose, earlier on at bigger prices, but for the sake of this competition, we have to get them in there. We have to get our fancies on the team sheet, as you said, and I'm in the same boat. I mean, just to note, there's only 2 Mondays now left until the Christmas racing, so I think that's where we need to be looking. I suppose some of the handicaps, I mean, I was tying with the idea of, you're going to laugh now at this one, but Sky Pirate really did impress me this weekend. I think his target is the Grand Annual, but Christmas racing, that's where my eyes are. And we talked about the novice chases last week. The three hot pots at the moment, Sisk and Envoy Allen and now Monkfish, and you throw one into the mix in the RSA. But a horse that I flagged up, as you know, you laughed at me here in March, Energumen. There was a few giggles, I suppose, as we flagged them up at 40-1 for the Arkle. I'm going to put him in the team sheet here at 10-1 any race. I'm getting slightly windy about the Arkle. I think he's a seriously good horse. I think you talk about Envoy Allen. Look, could be the best horse we've ever seen if you're to go on what people are saying. But an Energumen, I think there'll be very few better novice chasers in Britain and Ireland at the end of the season than this horse. Where he goes, his options obviously of the Arkle and the Marsh. because he won a point-to-point, people are talking about him for an RSA. I can't have that personally. I think he's a 2 mile, 2.5 miler. I think his jumping is very quick. He was very, very keen, I suppose, in the early stages of the race in Gorn, was over 2 mile and 4 furlongs on softer ground. We will see him at Christmas. He's a couple of entries. He's entered in the Racing-Post Novice Chase at Leopardstown. He's also entered in that big race down at Limerick, named after Faheen. So he is going to run at Christmas. I expect him to win wherever he lines up. I don't think we are going to see Envoy Allen, to be fair, at Christmas in any of those races. So when he wins, you'd imagine he would be contracting all the way down in price for both of the races. And I'm sticking him in the 10-1 any race with Hills and Star Sports. So we just about snuck in there. I think he's 8-1 with some firms any race. So 10-1. I'm conscious. I want to get those double figure prices in before Christmas. And I think he is a solid selection. That kind of concludes, I suppose, episode 5 of the Road to Cheltenham Challenge. It's hotting up.
Yeah, exactly. Especially coming up to Christmas racing, usually we find out so much around, the King George and the big races at Leopardstown and Limerick. So for people, I do think the value is going to come harder and harder after Christmas. So maybe it's a last chance saloon for people to get a wild card in there, like I've done today, and I know you did a few weeks ago, which she wears it well as well. So hopefully people will see that, and I'll be very interested to see people's selections for this week down below.
And the best of luck to you and Tyne Hill, of course, this weekend. And we'll see you back for episode 6 next Monday.